How's it going? Today we're going to be dividing by a 2-digit divisor. Okay, so for this to make a little bit more sense, let me just review the vocabulary. So remember, this number on the inside is the dividend, this number on the outside is the divisor, and then our answer is the quotient. So if we're dividing by a 2-digit divisor, that means this number on the outside is going to be 2 digits instead of 1. So last chapter, we always saw just 1 digit there, but now there will be 2. And I think when people see that, they kind of panic, or they're like, oh, this is going to be so hard. It is harder, but there are a few steps you can do to still solve it and be able to get through it in the same way. You just use the steps from the last chapter, okay? And your numbers will be a little bit bigger to work with, of course. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and go right into some example problems. But first, this is the directions that you will see. And I wanted to explain them a little bit more just so you know what it's asking for. Of course, like, you're just going to divide, and then you're going to check for reasonableness, which I know is a really huge word. But basically that means you're going to check your answer to make sure it's reasonable or it's a good answer, okay? So divide and check. That's all you're supposed to do. So when you see those directions, that's what that means. Divide and check. Okay. So let's start on our first problem. Okay, so like I said, this number on the outside is now 2 digits, okay? You're still going to do the exact same steps. So you could do long division, you could do partial quotient, whatever helps you the most. I'm going to show you with long division, and I'm going to show you a few little techniques that might help you. Okay, so 23. We're now going to take 23 and we're going to decide how many times it goes into 8. And 23 doesn't go into 8, so you put a 0 there. You could leave it blank and go to the next number, but I just put it there just as a placeholder. And it's really important to keep everything lined up, like write your numbers above, okay? So now we're going to take 23 and we're going to take it into 87.
Brinley Johnson, please come to the office. Brinley Johnson to the office.
Okay, anyway, so we're going to see how many times 23 goes into 87, okay? So this is where people kind of get stuck because these are bigger numbers we're working with. So this is what I would do if it was me. You can take 23 off to the side and you can take a guess. You can decide, okay, how many times do I think 23 goes into 87? So just take a guess, or you can think, okay, how many times does 20 go into 80? So I'm thinking 20 goes into 80 about 4 times. So I'm going to try a 4. 92. 92 is too high, right? So now I'm going to try something smaller. So the big thing to do on this assignment is just try off numbers off to the side until you find something that goes into it really well. Okay, so then we multiply these and get 69, which is better. You know, this is too high, this is, you know, lower. So we're going to put a 3. 23 times 3 is 69. And then you just go ahead and subtract. And we get 18. And this is where people are like, wait, 18, that's really high. Did I really do the right thing? Well, is 18 still lower than 23? It is. So we picked a good number. If this was higher, you would know, okay, I didn't pick something high enough. So, okay, then we bring down our next number. All right, now we have 184. So now we have to decide how many times does 23 go into 184? So again, you're going to do this off to the side. Just take some guesses. Decide how many times you think it goes in. So I'm going to say, okay, this is close to 20, and probably goes into 180 about, we could say 9 times. Let's try that. So 9 times 23, just trying it out off to the side. That's too high. So I have to pick something lower. So instead of a 9, I'm going to try an 8. And you can just keep trying numbers and keep trying them until you get something close. If you're way off, it's totally fine. Just keep trying stuff until you're close. Look, that is right on. So I picked a good number for sure. No remainder, and the answer is 38. Do you see how I did the exact same steps? The big difference is that the numbers are larger, so you might have to take some guesses off to the side, okay? And you can do partial quotient and other things too to solve this as well. So, okay, but remember, not only are we supposed to divide, you're also supposed to check for reasonableness. Okay, so let's multiply these two numbers together and see if we get this inside. So we take 38 times 23, and we're gonna see if we get 874. All right. And then I scratch that out, put a placeholder, add those together, and get 874. So yes, we were right. Okay, so that's our first example problem. So there we go. Now I'm gonna do one more with you just to kind of run through it again, just to make sure we really understand it. Okay, so we are still gonna do the same thing. We're still gonna do the steps. Don't miss school bus. So we still divide, then we multiply, then we subtract, then we bring down. And I know some of you also did R, which is just fine. So, okay, 96 doesn't go into 9. I'm gonna put a placeholder there just to make sure I don't write my first number there. And the next number will go here. How many times does 96 go into 98? It goes in once. And when we subtract, we get 2. So we definitely picked a number. That was a good one. So this is lower than this. Now we bring down our next number. And this is where some people get stuck because it's 28. And so they're thinking, well, what do I write here, you know? Well, 96 doesn't go into 28, so you just write a 0. And the remainder is 28. You're probably gonna have some large remainders because we're using larger numbers. So it's 10 remainder 28. 28 is still lower than 96. So we actually picked a good number, okay? So our answer would be 10 remainder 28. All right, now we're gonna check for reasonableness. So, or check to make sure our answer is correct. So we're gonna do 96 times 10. By the way, don't forget that 0. If you forget the 0, then the answer is just 1, which is completely different. So don't forget to put a 0. That's why I put a 0 here. I just kind of get in the habit of just putting placeholders there. So, okay, 96 times 10. Actually, we can just use a pattern for that. So all we have to do is do 96 times 1 and then add a 0. Okay, well, is that right? Not quite there yet because we have to add this in. 988, they match up, so we got the right answer. So again, you could use some other ways too, like partial quotient. So it's 988 divided by 96. I'm just gonna show you really quickly here that you could use this other method too for this. Okay, so 96 times 100 would be 9600. That's way too much. So let's just times it by, let's see, 10. Let's do 10. So 96 times 10. I'm gonna try it off to the side here. Oh, you can just do 96 with a 0, actually, because look at that. We could use our little pattern. So 960 is below, because 96 times 10, we just do 96 and add the 0. When I write it like this, it's probably harder to see, but when you see it like this, we can easily see times these together and add the 0. So 960 is what we write underneath. Then we subtract and get 28. We can't take another 96 out of this. So we know our answer is 10, remainder 28. And that matches here. Okay, so you're still gonna do the exact same steps that you would do with a 1-digit divisor. You still do the exact same steps, but this time there's 2 digits. So you have to try a few numbers out. You have to keep trying until you get the right thing. You might have a lot of work off to the side, and that's fine, okay? And it's really important to check your work because these numbers are larger. So you want to make sure you're doing everything correctly. So, okay, good luck.